Have you ever wondered if the ongoing war in Israel could be a fulfillment of Bible prophecy? This is not just a question for theological debates or late-night ponderings. It's a question that echoes in the heart of today's world as we witness the unfolding events in the Middle East. Israel, a nation steeped in rich history and religious significance, finds itself at the center of international attention, its conflicts reverberating across continents. Is this mere coincidence, or could there be something more? Could the ancient scriptures of the Bible be casting their long shadow on the canvas of modern geopolitics? The intrigue of this question lies not just in its historical or religious implications, but in its relevance to the world we live in today. So, let's delve into the scriptures and the history of Israel to unravel this intriguing mystery. The Bible, in its various books, contains several prophecies concerning the nation of Israel. In the Old Testament, the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, is a prominent source of prophecy about Israel. Ezekiel speaks of a vision where he sees a valley of dry bones which God tells him represent the house of Israel. These bones, God promises, will come to life, symbolizing the return of the Jews to their homeland. This prophecy, many scholars believe, foretells the re-establishment of the nation of Israel, which we saw in the 20th century, thousands of years after Ezekiel's time. Moving to the New Testament, the book of Luke, chapter 21 verses 20 through 24, Jesus prophesies the destruction of Jerusalem and the scattering of the Jews. He also mentions a period known as the times of the Gentiles, where Jerusalem will be under Gentile control until the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. This prophecy is often interpreted as the long period of Jewish diaspora and the domination of Jerusalem by foreign powers, which ended with the return of the Jews in the last century. Lastly, let's consider the book of Zechariah, chapter 12, where it is written that Jerusalem will become a burdensome stone for all people. The prophecy also mentions that all nations of the earth will gather against it. This passage is often associated with the ongoing conflict and tension surrounding Israel and Jerusalem, with the nation often at the center of international controversy. These are just a few examples of the numerous prophecies in the Bible regarding Israel, its people, and its capital, Jerusalem. It's important to remember that these prophecies were written thousands of years ago, long before the events they speak of came to pass. Now, let us look at the history of the war in Israel and see if there's a correlation with these prophecies. The war in Israel isn't a recent phenomenon, it's a conflict that dates back to the last century. Let's begin with the creation of the State of Israel in 1948. This monumental event was a turning point in history, but it also marked the start of a new era of conflict. The Arab-Israeli War, also known as the War of Independence, immediately followed Israel's declaration of independence, with neighboring Arab states launching an attack on the fledgling nation. Fast forward to 1967 and we're met with the Six-Day War. This was a rapid and decisive victory for Israel against a coalition of Arab states. The war resulted in a significant territorial expansion for Israel, but it also planted the seeds for future conflicts, as the territories seized included the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, and the Golan Heights, areas that continue to be hotspots for conflict today. Then came the Yom Kippur War in 1973. Launched by Egypt and Syria, this war caught Israel by surprise on the holiest day of the Jewish calendar. Despite initial setbacks, Israel managed to overcome the offensive, but the war led to a shift in the regional balance of power, and had major global implications. In more recent years, the ongoing conflict with Palestine has been a significant part of the narrative. The struggle for self-determination by the Palestinian people and the controversy surrounding Israeli settlements in the West Bank have escalated tensions and led to numerous clashes. Parallel to this, the threat posed by Iran has become increasingly prominent. With Iran's nuclear program causing international concern, the potential for a major conflict with Israel has become a consistent part of the conversation. The tensions between Israel and Iran are a complex mix of ideological, political, and security issues, and they add another layer to the intricate web of conflict in the region. Reflecting on this historical journey, we see a series of wars and conflicts, each with its own causes and consequences, but all contributing to the ongoing tension and instability in the region. This is a land steeped in history and significance, a land that has seen great triumphs and devastating losses. It's a land where the past is always present, and the future is always uncertain. With this historical background, can we see any links to the biblical prophecies? Armed with knowledge of the biblical prophecies and the historical events, let's now explore the potential connections. We begin with the prophecy from the book of Zechariah, which predicts a time when Jerusalem will be a burdensome stone to all nations, and those who burden themselves with it will be cut in pieces. Looking at the current geopolitical landscape, Israel and specifically Jerusalem indeed seem to be a burdensome stone, causing discord among nations. The ongoing conflicts, alliances, and negotiations that center around this small yet significant nation resonate with this prophecy. Next, we turn to the prophecy from Ezekiel, which foretells the rise of a great northern enemy, often interpreted as Russia, allied with Persia or modern-day Iran, against Israel. Today we see Iran increasing its cooperation with Russia, and their combined stance against Israel mirrors this prophecy. The book of Daniel also speaks of a king of the north and a king of the south, leading to a great conflict. The political division in the Middle East, with countries aligning either with Israel or Iran, seems to echo this prophecy. However, it's essential to remember that interpretations of biblical prophecies can be subjective and vary greatly. Some view them as literal future predictions, while others see them as symbolic or metaphorical. Moreover, correlation doesn't imply causation. The alignment of certain geopolitical events with biblical prophecies doesn't necessarily mean the prophecy caused the event, or that the event is a fulfillment of the prophecy. History is complex, filled with countless intertwining factors that influence the course of events. We must also consider the role of self-fulfilling prophecies. The belief in a prophecy can influence actions and decisions that, in turn, bring about the predicted event. The widespread influence of Christian Zionism, for instance, with its belief in Israel's central role in fulfilling biblical prophecy, may impact the policies and outcomes we observe today. Lastly, it's worth noting that many prophecies remain unfulfilled, according to various interpretations. The full restoration of Israel, the rebuilding of the Jewish temple, and the ushering in of an era of peace are among the prophecies that many believe are yet to come to pass. These correlations are indeed thought-provoking, aren't they? The question of whether the war in Israel is a fulfillment of Bible prophecy is indeed a captivating one. We've explored the biblical prophecies, delved into the historical perspective of the war in Israel, and drew comparisons that might link these two seemingly distinct narratives. We've seen how the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East, as well as the strategic interests of global powers, have shaped the course of the conflict. We've also observed the influence of ideologies, such as Christian Zionism, and their impact on perceptions and policies. It's important to remember that the interpretation of prophecies is rarely clear-cut. They are often subjective and open to various readings. The links we've discussed are potential connections, not definitive proof. The true beauty of prophecy lies in its intrigue, in the quest for understanding and the conversations it sparks. So we encourage you to think deeply about the information we've presented, form your own opinions, engage in discussion, and keep an open mind. Keep pondering these mysteries, and remember, the interpretation of prophecy is as diverse as the individuals who study it.